Some stories, they just feel a little too real to be just stories. They become legends, the kind whispered down hospital corridors in the dead of night. We're about to explore one of those legends, a really chilling account from a government hospital in Kanpur. This is the story of Room 309. It always started at the same time. Not just around 3 a.m., but precisely at 2:55 a.m. That was the exact moment the dead silence of the emergency ward would be broken. It was a moment the hospital staff had learned to absolutely dread. The internal phone, the one meant for actual emergencies inside the hospital, would ring. But just once. A single, solitary ring that somehow felt louder than any siren. Night after night, it was the same pattern, the exact same call. And when the staff would look at the phone's little display, there was no number, no name, just 3 digits glowing in the dark, 309. So the source of the call was clear. But that only made things way more confusing because Room 309 hadn't been used in years. It was sealed shut, totally abandoned. How could a call possibly be coming from a room that was empty and locked tight from the outside? That's the central mystery right there. Okay, so to really understand the call, we have to understand the room itself. Let's go back to the very beginning of this whole mystery. See, this wasn't just a one-time thing. These strange calls started way back in 2011. Every single night, sometime between 2:55 and 3:10 a.m., that phone would ring. And the caller ID? Always just 309. But here's the most unnerving part. The room had already been sealed shut for 4 years by then. The staff was terrified because they knew its history. And this is the real heart of the fear. Room 309 was actually an old operating theater. And 4 years before the call started, a patient had tragically died right there, mid-surgery. After that, the hospital just sealed it up, locking its history and, well, maybe something else inside. So for years, the rule was simple. You do not answer the call from 309. But you know how it is. Rules are meant to be broken. And things took a very sharp turn when a new intern, Ananya, arrived. Ananya was new to all of this. She'd heard the whispers, yeah, and she'd seen the genuine fear in the senior staff's eyes. But she just couldn't accept it. She couldn't leave the mystery alone. So one night, fueled by this mix of courage and maybe a little too much curiosity, she decided she was going to be the one to pick up that phone. And boom, right on schedule, it happened. At exactly 2 minutes past 3 in the morning, the phone rang. And while everyone else in the room just froze, Ananya's heart was pounding. She reached for the receiver. Her voice was probably trembling, but she said the words. She answered the call that absolutely no one dared to answer for years. She was literally speaking into a void, into a legend. And for what must have felt like an eternity, there was nothing, just dead air, the static of an open line. That silence just stretched on, probably making her question her decision. And then a voice came through. It was so faint and broken and filled with a pain that sounded way too real. It was the voice of someone in absolute agony, just a desperate, weak plea for help coming from the other end of the line. Ananya asked the man where he was, and after another long pause, the voice on the line confirmed her absolute worst fear, slowly spelling out the location. Room 309. The call was, impossibly, coming from inside that sealed room. Ananya's blood must have run cold, but she didn't hang up. Instead, something, compelled her to move, to go and see for herself what in the world was waiting on the other side of that door. She walked down that cold, quiet corridor, almost pulled towards the one door that was never, ever supposed to be opened. Every single step echoed, just building the sense of dread. And as she got closer, she started to hear something. It was this soft, rhythmic tap, 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 coming from behind the sealed wooden door. Someone, or something, was inside, and it knew she was there. And then, through the woods, she heard the same pained voice from the phone whispering again. It was weaker this time, but somehow even more desperate. "Doctor, help." It was the plea of a trapped soul. And just like that, everything stopped. The tapping, the whispering, silence. The air in the corridor just plummeted in temperature, becoming unnaturally, bitingly cold. Ananya froze right where she stood, her breath catching in her throat. And in that chilling silence, a new voice spoke. But it wasn't from the phone. It wasn't from behind the door. No, this was crystal clear and right beside her ear, as if it had just passed through the wall itself. I am still on the table. Ananya fled. And who can blame her? But the next morning, emboldened by her terrifying story, the staff finally made a decision. They were going to open room 309. And what they found inside, well, it only cemented the legend forever. The room was not how they had left it all those years ago. The old operating table was stained. Surgical tools were scattered all over the floor. The lights were on. And the most disturbing thing, there were deep, fresh scratches on the wall, like someone had been clawing, trying to get out. After that night, the phone never rang again. The hospital, they weren't taking any more chances. They didn't just seal the wooden door. They welded a solid iron sheet over the entire doorway, basically entombing room 309 for good. But the story doesn't quite end there. The calls might have stopped, but the staff says the voice never really left. They swear that if you walk past that corridor late at night, you can still hear a faint, pained whisper coming from behind the iron sheet. "Doctor, my pain isn't over yet." So they severed the physical connection, but the presence, it remained. It really makes you wonder, doesn't it? Is sealing a door ever enough to truly silence a memory? Or does a story like this only get louder the more you try to bury it? What do you think?